Have you ever wondered how to get your music discovered by brands? Well, if you have, then you'll definitely want to check out our interview with Gaurav Digankar, co-founder of the new music licensing platform for brands, Hoopr. We discuss the new licensing opportunities for your music with Hoopr for brands, as well as various brands that are licensing their music from the platform, and much, much more. Coming up.
This episode of the MUBUTV Insider video series is brought to you by the Music Business Registry. The Music Business Registry is the leading music industry publisher of the most up-to-date contact information for major and independent record label A&R, music publishers, artist managers, music attorneys, music supervisors, and much, much more. The Music Business Registry is the trusted industry standard and source serving the music business community for over 30 years with the most accurate and up-to-date contact information available. Their titles include the A&R Registry, the Film and Television Music Guide, the Music Publisher Registry, and the Music Attorney Registry. All of their publications are available in PDF, CSV, or online subscription. Visit musicregistry.com and use coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout. That's musicregistry.com, coupon code MUBUTV10. When you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com.
Hi, it's Ritch Esra from MUBUTV, where our mission is to educate, empower, and engage your music career. We're coming to you from Muse Expo in Burbank, California, where we managed to catch up with Gaurav Digankar, who is co-founder and CEO for Hoopr in India. Gaurav, welcome.
Thank you so much, Rich.
You're launching Hoopr, which is a new and innovative music licensing platform. Can you tell us about it?
Sure. So Hoopr would be one of India's first music licensing marketplaces. As you know, India is a content hub. There's so many content creators in India who are creating vlogs, podcasts, gaming streams, and these guys need music. You're talking about an ecosystem of nearly 10 million plus content creators in India alone. And traditionally, India has been, I would say, a bit behind when it comes to stuff like licensing. A lot of people have used music without really licensing it, and then they end up getting a copyright claim, or they end up getting a lawsuit. So even brands today want to license music and want to use music legally. So our idea is to bring together the music creators who are creating all this music in India and connect them to the brands and the content creators who need the music. My vision to come to Muse Expo was also to find people who might have tracks here which we can bring to the Indian market, so open up a new revenue stream for them in India. So essentially we sit right in the middle, connecting music creators and the video creators who want the music.
You had mentioned brands. Can you tell us about some of the brands that have used Hoopr?
So Hoopr has not launched yet officially. We launch in the month of May. But at the same time, because we have a large library, we've started meeting brands and they've started licensing tracks from us. Some of the brands that you might be knowing, so Mars Wrigley has a mint brand called Double Mint that licensed 4 tracks from us. There's a fashion brand called Zivame that last week picked up a track. There's a chocolate by Cadbury called 5 Star that licensed a track called Single Single, which was a track they wanted to put use during the Valentine's Day period. So it is a track that talks about being single. So multiple tracks being picked up by brands. We also have OTT platforms who are picking up tracks. So for web shows especially, despite India not having music supervisors, they're able to now listen to tracks from the library and say that, hey, I've got this track, it goes well with my show, or this track going well with my movie. So that's interesting.
And India is enormous in film. I mean, you are the largest producer of motion pictures anywhere.
That's right.
In terms of movies and content.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the additional elements beyond music that you're offering on the platform?
Sure. As of now, we are also offering sound effects, mainly focused on India. Again, because as you rightly said, India is one of the largest filmmaking communities in the world. They need a lot of sound effects, especially a crowded street in Mumbai or a college festival in Bangalore. Or say a temple, a sound in a temple, and so on and so forth, right? And these sounds are typically unavailable on a lot of other libraries. I think the factor that comes into play is the affordability, because in India, content creators may not have the same kind of budgets as the international content creators do. So our focus right now is on music within music, we have themes which are like great for background scores. We've got songs, and we've also got a 60-second proprietary content piece called a hoop. So it's limited by time to 60 seconds. So it's great for shorts, for reels, for TikTok videos. It has not only music, it also has jokes, it has poetry, and so on. And then we have sound effects.
Okay. Are you open to other forms of music on Hoopr as a platform besides Indian music?
Oh, of course. So Indian brands love using music from the West, or rather English songs, because India is also one of the largest English-speaking countries in the world. I think the big challenge for us has been, because I've been on the video creator side as well, it's been, this lack of resources which we could go to license music, or this fear that, okay, this music is going to be super expensive, so I might as well just commission it. And the other problem is the mentality of always creating work for hire and buying it out. Traditionally, Ritch, India has always been paying the musicians and acquiring rights, whether it's film, whether it's TV, whether it's video on demand or brands. They pay and then they take the publishing rights as well as the master rights. They just buy it out, it's theirs. Over a period of time, a lot of these guys realize that I don't need to buy everything. I can just license it for a lesser fee. I get a bigger variety. I need to spend lesser time because the music is already ready, rather than me having to create it from scratch. So thankfully on this film and the video creator side, there's more awareness now of licensing. And we feel that more international tracks, like I was speaking to a couple of labels and publishers here at the Muse Expo, and they have some fabulous tracks which are popular in India. And I know that brands would love those tracks. For example, one of the guys had this track, Cotton Eye Joe, and that's like a popular one. If a brand has access to it, they'll pay top dollar to get it. And that's money for this label or the publisher in a country where he's not monetizing at all. So it's an exciting space. I mean, labels from Germany, from the UK, US, you ask them how much money are you making from sync in India, and the answer is usually zero, right? So for them, we are like a reseller. So I see big potential there.
Absolutely. In listening to your answer, I was in India in 2009.
All right.
And it was just beginning. I was in Mumbai, and the whole aspect of the music industry and the development and the inroads was really beginning, and it was expanding. Expanding beyond Bollywood, beyond the music and film. You're on the front lines of this. How has India's tastes in terms of popular music expanded over the last decade in India?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it has really evolved and changed a lot. You're absolutely right that the music was always predominantly film music. India has always grown up to, music and cinema. And there has never been independent artists in India until the last, I would say, 5 years or so, in which a lot of independent artists have come and become popular. They have their own fan base. They do not want to put their music in films necessarily, and the fans are listening to their songs. Here I must mention that it's also due to platforms like YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, and so many other avenues where a music creator does not need a movie now. You just pick up a guitar, create a video, and you're on YouTube, or if you want, you can perform something on TikTok, or put up your songs on Spotify and you start generating a fan base. Till a couple of years back, I would say even on Spotify in India, something like 100 million streams would have been unheard of. But now Indian artists are clocking, they've begun to clock 100 million streams on Spotify, which I would say for a single language country is quite a big number, right? And that's still the tip of the iceberg. You're still talking about barely 5 to 10% of the people really using Spotify and paying for it. So I think that the potential is massive. Also, a lot of Indian regional music has come to the fore. So in India, we've got 30 different states, and each state speaks its own language. But what's happened is that these regional artists have come up and said that, hey, I'm going to be the hip-hop star for Tamil Nadu. I'm going to do my folk in Bengal. And they're all becoming popular. They're having their own listener base. So that's happened in the last 5 years.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a real renaissance going on in India, and you're at the forefront with Hoopr and with your background in video content creation.
Yeah.
What do you see as the future for music in India? What do you see as the future market for it?
Exciting possibilities. I think the first thing that we need to do is make sure that Indian songwriters, producers and singers are aware of their rights. Most of these guys would never know what a publishing right means, or what rights in a master means, or what are mechanical royalties and so on, right? In fact, many people even within the industry don't really know it. I would be very honest with you. And in fact, we're thinking of starting a tutorial series where we teach people in their native language that, hey, if you're a songwriter, this is the right that you own, and this is what you need to do, and you need to register with a collecting society and so on and so forth. Despite us being a licensing marketplace, we are not into telling people that, hey, you shouldn't be aware of your rights so that we can make the most out of it. We really want the music creators to be more knowledgeable. I think the big thing that needs to happen is Indian artists breaking out of India and getting discovered by other countries. It's tough because the language mostly is a barrier. You have Hindi, Punjabi, which is not spoken outside in other countries. But I think just the way Latin music became big all over the world because it was so rhythmic and people, dance to a Despacito without understanding what it necessarily means. I would say that in India, there's Punjabi music that could break out because it's very rhythmic. The artists have a lot of personality. People can go on the dance floor. They're also intelligent enough to sometimes work with international producers and either top line on a track or create a track that could appeal to a different audience. So there's one of our artists called Diljit Dosanjh in India. He's not signed to us, but he's a popular guy in India, and he's recently signed with Warner for a global track. So I'm hoping that such things happen so that we did a survey in which we asked Indian musicians that how many of you have your music licensed by anyone outside of India. 95% said we've never had our music used by anyone outside of India. And that is not the case with, say, Australian producers or American producers or European producers, right? So we're in this walled garden we need to break out. That's what we could try and do.
Okay. How do artists and songwriters and others connect with Hoopr?
So one, we're quite active on social media. We also have a record label called Songfest, which has 500,000 subscribers. And we use that channel very, very actively to try and draw people. So over the past few months, there have been about 2,000 songwriters in India who have signed up with us. We haven't been able to accept all of their submissions. We worked with about 10% of them, primarily because we want to be sure that the music they're sending us is original and not plagiarized. So it's still a curated process, I would say. We're trying to automate it using AI, but being an engineer myself, I know that it'll take a little time before an algorithm can say that, hey, this is an original track. Because somebody can pitch up or pitch down somebody else's song, or take a Latin track and play it on a flute and give it to us saying, hey, it's my song. So we need to be a little careful about that. But we're actively reaching out to musicians via events. We participate in events. We're collaborating with songwriters and getting them to do shout-outs, and a lot of word of mouth, essentially.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
In your life, are there any books or films that you've seen throughout your life that have been particularly inspirational to you, professionally speaking, that you could recommend to our audience? Things that have really moved you?
Yes, I think, so I'll answer this question both in a musical and a non-musical way, right? In terms of the music business, I think, there are books on music publishing, or there's Donald Passman, whose books on music business essentially for us was great because in India we did not have these resources. So as a young musician, when I started my career about 10 to 12 years back, reading these books at least gave me an insight. So I did a record with Universal Music in India back in 2007, and I had royalties on the masters, which was quite difficult to negotiate, but I'd read these books. So I was able to say that, hey, this is my record, I produced it, so I need royalties on the masters as well as I need to have my publishing and so on. It helped me a lot. And I would say in terms of movies, from a startup entrepreneur point of view, I really enjoyed this movie called The Founder. It talks about Ray Kroc, who's the founder of McDonald's. Or, he joined the McDonald's brothers and then sort of expanded the business. Mm-hmm. So this was a time when I had just started my company, G-Sharp Media, and there was a guy who wanted to come and invest, taking 51% of the company. And I had just watched The Founder, and there were a few things which after watching the movie, I just realized that, hey, when there could be a real founder and there could be somebody who could come and want to take control of your business. It helped me a lot. It really showed me a shrewd side of entrepreneurship, which otherwise it was very coincidental, but I feel that's a great movie for entrepreneurs to watch.
Yes, it was almost like it was meant to be. You were meant to see that at that time.
Yeah.
Yes,
so in the movie, there was this line that he tells the brothers that I really love the name McDonald's, right? And the guy who was investing said, I really love the name of your company. Songfest was the name. And I'm like, okay, I'm not giving it to you, when I watched it. So yeah.
Some really great info from Gaurav on his innovative music licensing platform, Hoopr. So, insiders, question of the day. What were your greatest takeaways from our conversation with Gaurav? Was it how Hoopr offers you a chance to reach brands with your music? Or was it the additional elements beyond music that are offered on the platform? Or was it how India's music tastes have evolved over the last decade? Or maybe it was something else you'd like to share. We'd love to hear from you and connect in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to MUBUTV for more information on how to educate, empower, and engage your music career. You can also check out a summary of this episode and everything we talked about in the YouTube description as well. And if you enjoyed this video, we'd really love it if you hit the like button and let us know what other kinds of videos and types of content you want to see on our channel. Hit us up in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.